Hey peeps, today we're going to go over a video by Prageru called The Difference Between a Democracy and a Republic. Now, to me, the importance and definition of words and how they're used can be very important, especially in legal cases. But first and foremost, this is a propaganda piece that never actually delves deep into the historical developments of the terms like democracy and republic, or the development of the perception of what it means to be a democratic or republican form of government. The only explanation of democracy we get is just a snippet of an explanation.
In America, the people are in charge. That's literally what democracy means in the original Greek. Demos, kratos, the people, demos, rule, kratos.
We can see that whenever they later bring up the term democracy again, it's always strangely placed in a caveat. And I'm not against caveats. They can usually help and increase the nuance of a video. This video isn't, though, about nuance.
Of the people, by the people, for the people, as Abraham Lincoln put it in the Gettysburg Address. They did not believe in pure or unrestricted democracy.
As soon as they caveated their language with the term unrestricted, it becomes pretty clear that they did not come into this argument with good faith. They have, on one hand, caveated the term democracy with the term unrestricted, and then on the other hand, they have not done the same for republic. All of this is very telling on how bad faith this video is. A unrestricted democracy is of course going to be bad, but so is an unrestricted monarchy. We hold praise to our system of government not just because we elect our leaders, but because our government has a system of checks and balances. It would follow just as easily that an unrestricted republic would have as many problems as an unrestricted democracy. Prageru's 5-minute video, as you would guess, doesn't provide an interesting view or understanding of these terms. That's because that's not its purpose.
James Madison, precisely in distinguishing a democracy, which he did not favor, from a republic, which he did, noted that a crucial advantage of republicanism is to refine the public views by passing them through the medium of a chosen body of citizens whose wisdom may best discern the true interests of the country.
Quotes are fun, but most of the time they do suck. That's because of the well-known deception that occurs when people slice up a piece to fit their needs. The fun part is uncovering the whole of the work to find out that it contradicts what the other person is saying. Now, as someone who has read the Federalist Papers, I know the overarching theme in the Federalist 10 deals with the concept or problem of factionalization and how to solve it. This solution questions on whether a larger republic would be better than a smaller republic. What James Madison means about size, like large versus smaller forms of republic, is an actual size thing. This is why he doesn't like democracy. It's because from this view of the subject, it may be concluded that a pure democracy, by which I mean a society consisting of a small number of citizens who assemble and administer the government in a person, can admit no cure for the mischiefs of faction. Most people would not define a democracy, even a direct democracy, by these terms. It seems weird to even include the size requirement into the definition of a direct democracy, but that's because this whole democracy bit is only a side bit to further the grander argument that a larger society of a republic would be better than a smaller society of a republic when dealing with factionalization. Nonetheless, that definition of pure democracy is not equal to what most people would consider to be a pure democracy, because as I said before, this video isn't about these forms of government. Contrasting Madison's definition of republic with a general understanding of democracy, it's even hard to say it's general at that, is problematic. Why not use Madison's definition of democracy and then compare it with his definition of republic? It makes it clear that this video really, once again, isn't about these terms. It's about pushing another narrative.
It's that they rejected the idea that the majority wins was by definition the just outcome.
As you can tell by the beginning of that clip with the dash of foreshadowing, this video, as I said before, isn't about the terms republic or democracy. It's a piece about being pro-electoral college, along with how our system is structured.
With a highly democratic House of Representatives and a not very democratic Senate.
It's a weird thing to suggest that the House is somehow more democratic than the Senate, especially as it certainly doesn't fit the Madisonian definition of a pure democracy, and we're given no additional framework on what would be considered more or less democratic. This line of argument and reasoning becomes quickly nonsensical. We can just point at Madison's definition of republic and democracy and instantly say both these systems are both republics. They're certainly not small societies or use small societies, and each of them have elected figures. And notice the shift in the discussion. As you can tell, this conversation isn't about democracy or republics at all.
We see something similar in the Constitution's procedures for choosing a president. An obvious possibility would have been by a national popular vote. The founders wisely decided against this option. Rather, they created an electoral college to protect the interests of the less populous states. Even today, their decision makes sense.
See what I mean? This video isn't about, hey, well, here's the difference between democracy and republic. It's about pushing the electoral college. However, we're really not given any explanation how a popular vote would be considered more democratic as opposed to being as equal and republican form of government as an electoral college. What we have here is the perilous paradoxical politics of Prageru. I suspect that this video was originally intended to be a video about why America isn't a democracy and instead a republic, but the fault of it is already in the terms themselves. They're so simple and used interchangeably that arguing which is pointless. That's why we saw them caveat their own language. The second issue we run into is why America is a republic as opposed to a democracy. What could have been a simple explanation by saying that we elect our leaders and those leaders decide on the laws is, however, avoided. The reason we avoid this is that it would necessarily draw it into the question of the electoral college, and swapping out the electoral college with the national popular vote technically doesn't actually turn our society into a democracy. But we can't have that, and so instead this video just turns the word democracy into a buzzword. We don't want to make any modifications or changes to our system because that would make it more democratic, and we don't want that because democracy is bad. It's clear what they're doing is that they're associating the term democracy with an inherent negative connotation to it, as we even see them associating the word Democrat with pure democracy.
A pure Democrat would say that's unfair. Each Wyoming resident has far more power than every Californian. But a Republican would say, well, we aren't and shouldn't be a pure democracy.
As you can tell, this is pretty on the nose with the buzzwords and the dog whistles. Pure Republican isn't at all defined in the video, but as we can guess, it's a little more than a stand-in for Republican, of course. Starting to get to the end of the video, we have Prageru reinforcing once again that America is not a democracy, and that's a good thing. So we know that Prageru associates the word democracy with the other word Democrat, and thereby we can easily infer that means democracy is inherently bad. And then it does the vice versa with the term republic. Now that we have that in our heads, let us look at an earlier video that came out less than a year called Capitalism or Socialism. Which one is more democratic? If we know that Prageru thinks democracies, and thereby democratic systems, are bad, it would follow that knowing that Prageru stands against socialism, it would be not an unlikely guess that Prageru would hold capitalism as a less democratic system, while socialism, on the other hand, to be a more democratic system, and therefore worse.
Moreover, citizens participate in a system of representative democracy. Their views are filtered through the politicians who represent them. Consumers, by contrast, vote in a system of direct democracy. If you prefer an Audi to a Lexus or the Apple iPhone to the Samsung Galaxy, you don't have to elect some other guy to exercise these preferences. You do it directly yourself by paying for them.
As we saw from the last snippet, we saw them advocating for a direct democracy, though I'd hardly call capitalism a democratic system. It's funny to see them then further praise democracy as a good thing.
We don't need to extend democracy from the political to the economic sphere. We already have it. We don't need socialism because we already have something more moral and more democratic. It's called capitalism.
The term democratic to Prageru is little more than a buzzword, used only in a manner that suits their needs. When Prageru needs to highlight the pros of capitalism, they become a proud defender of direct democracy. But when they need to protect the electoral college, they then become a staunch critic of anything associated with the term democracy. All in all, I think that I've emphasized that Prageru uses terms to benefit them and are willing to modify the use if it benefits them politically, not if they actually have any functional value. Anyways, peeps, thanks for watching.